Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with another BANT Maverick stream. This time with a little bit of a change up in the main deck. I'm going to try to fit in Once Upon a Time, which is a card that a few people have been asking for to see if it can fit in this deck. I definitely think it can. So the way that I fit 3 in, I was going to add a 4th over the second Sylvan Library, but I just really... I really value that second Sylvan Library. So I cut 1 land, so 1 Misty Rainforest, 1 Noble Hierarch, and 1 Knight of the Reliquary. I was going to cut 1 Green Suns, but I really value the ability to Green Suns for 0 on turn 1 to accelerate into something like a turn 2 Oko or Skyclave or Knight. So I wanted to keep as many Green Suns in as possible, because we did cut a Noble, so I've added in 3 onces to hopefully give us some game in the mid to late game against some of these value decks. The other change that I made was going for Tireless Tracker and Gideon in the board over Felidar Retreat. Felidar, although I am a fan of it, I'm not a fan of it in Maverick. There were just too many times where I had Retreat, but I didn't have the lands to back it up, or I didn't find it. I just really like that Tireless Tracker and Gideon are great against the decks where I want some value. Tireless Tracker, probably more of a 4-drop than a 3-drop in my eyes. You really want to make sure you get value off it straight away. And Gideon, just a really nice Planeswalker. If we're up against a Plague Engineer deck, it gives us a nice out if we are a little bit early with getting that online before Plague Engineer comes down, which is nice. And then, yeah, I'm just a fan that it comes down and makes 2/2 straight away. Obviously, with lands in hand, Felidar Retreat is going to be better, but there's been a lot of times where we've had Retreat, cast it, it's resolved, and it hasn't really done anything, which is kind of sad. I really wish it did. Obviously, it's got some really nice synergy with another Reliquary, but I feel like if you have an online Knight and a 4-drop resolving, you're going to be doing pretty well anyway. So Gideon's there just to make sure that I have some different angle of attack other than just creatures against some of the control decks. And Tireless Tracker, I think, is just better than another Reliquary against some of the basic heavy decks like Snow. So that should be pretty interesting. I didn't change up anything else. I still like the package. I still like Uro. Uro isn't a card that we've been green sunning for aggressively, but it's just a really strong card to have in the deck as a one-of for when we do need some life gain, or maybe even in the late game where we can green suns for it and cast it in the same turn, which isn't too far-fetched. Which is pretty cool. Uro also makes the graveyard a bit more of a resource outside of just Scavenging Ooze and Ramanap, which is great. So things like Okos and Sylvan Libraries and Swords in the graveyard can actually be a pretty good resource for us with Uro in the bin as well. That's pretty much it. We've been doing pretty well with BANT. BANT's been really nice. Obviously a deck that can power out an Oko on turn 2, whether you're on the play or draw, is really nice. And Skyclave has just been a great printing for the deck. I'm a huge fan of this card. The flexibility is just enormous, and it's definitely one of those 2020 cards that I don't think is overpowered. I know for a while, I'm not sure if it still is, it was the #1 creature played in Modern, but I think that for a double white card, it's everything that I've wanted in a 3-drop for a while now. So let's see how this goes. I've got a new setup as well, so hopefully it works for when I shift over to a game here. Playing a Legacy League. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining me. Let's see how this loads. So we're going to join this, and then hopefully... I need to put a little marker on my... Okay, it goes full screen. So if I change to this, put this up here, and this is going to go down to around here. Nice. So on the play, which is nice. This hand is pretty good. The issue is that if we want to accelerate on turn 1, we have the Dried Arbor in hand, which is a little bit rough. Not too sure what my opponent is on. The issue is that Knight's just one of those boards where it could be a 4-3, but most of the time you do want it to be a little bit more effective in a matchup, and I'm obviously not sure if that's going to be where I want to be. The big issue that I have with this hand is the Dried Arbor and Green Suns. I kind of want to use this Green Suns to power something out on turn 3, but I don't want to go for early mana unless it was Dried Arbor, because it kind of seems like a waste having 4 lands in hand. I think we have better 6s, especially with Thalia, maybe like a Noble Hierarch into an Oko, just with more of a plan. This obviously has 2 pretty reactive cards, and the Dry Double with Green Suns is just a little bit rough. This is much better. I'll keep this. We have some flexibility with Green Suns. We have Skoos as a threat. We have some interaction with Wasteland. So I'm going to keep this and bottom the Snow-Covered Forest. I like keeping both fetches because against a Bolt deck, if we draw into Knight, we can cast Knight as a 4/4 on turn 2, which is pretty relevant. So I'm just going to go for a Savannah here and get Birds out. Wow, that's an aggressive force. Very interesting. I've heard of Bolt the Bird, I haven't heard of Force the Bird. I wonder if that means they have like a Wasteland and they're trying to Wasteland us off this mana, which is pretty interesting. So this might be something like a... That's pretty interesting. I'm going to go for a basic here and just go for Dried Arbor. Snow-Covered Forest. I mean, if they want to double force us, that's more than fine. Especially taking out a Sprite Dragon. I'm not too unhappy to see that. It's a card that can be pretty hard for this deck to deal with outside of some sort of removal spell like Swords or... That's actually a really nice card. So now I can play around Daze pretty easily. And this Wasteland's probably going to be pretty good against my opponent. It's tough because my opponent has just forced 2 of my mana accelerants, but we've been fine for mana here, so... They're going to go for a Snow-Covered Forest. Interesting. I think you could definitely fit in a Stoneforge package. I think it's a little bit more relevant with D&T seeing a lot more play. I think you could probably take out the Once Upon a Times, which is 3 slots, and then maybe even the extra Sylvan Library. And then you have 4 spots, so that leaves you with 2 Stoneforge and 2 equipment pieces, which is pretty good. They're gonna Ponder. That's fine. They chose to shuffle, which is interesting. I don't mind going for Stifle here. At least I don't mind not playing around Stifle here because it means we can untap and play around Spell Snare, which is pretty huge. And Stifle's going to be fine. They did shuffle, so I assume they're trying to dig for mana. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. Yeah, I like Batterskull and Jide, and then I think you could probably find space for some sort of sword effect in the board, either Feast and Famine or Fire and Ice. So they have 1 card in hand. If they have Daze, I don't really want them to be able to hit this Once Upon a Time. So I think here I'm going to just once like this. Also play around Stifle a little bit. Oh, Uro is actually really good. Knight's also pretty good. This is actually a tricky one. We're up against a pretty aggressive deck, but they've obviously don't have anything in play as of turn 5, which is pretty good. I'm assuming this deck is playing Delver and we saw Sprite Dragon. I think it's going to be Uro. Although it is tough because Knight... I think Knight's just so good because it can make them stumble on mana as well. So I'm going to go for Knight here. And then just pass. I'm not at like a low life total, so I'm not in a rush to get some life off that Uro. And we're in a pretty good spot for this Knight to come down and hopefully cause some damage. They got 2 cards and that is passing, so... I think a land here would actually be the best draw, because then I can play around days. Yeah. I'm gonna fetch, I'll see if they have Stifle, because it might take them off Force and blue card. This long pause definitely makes me think they have Stifle. They're having a good think. I've seen Stifle in a few lists, especially these aggressive lists with Delvers and Sprite Dragons, just wanting to finish the game and cause some disruption. I haven't seen it come back in a deck like Rug Delver yet, other than I think Pokepiles are playing Stifles and not playing Delvers, of course. And honestly, if this resolves, I think I'm pretty happy just getting a basic Plains. Then we have 2 colored sources of mana that can't be hit by Wasteland. And I can probably cast Knight using Plains, Forest, Noble, and then Wasteland my opponent. Which is pretty good. Yeah, they might be having connection issues, or they might be away from the computer. I'm not sure if... So if this doesn't... I guess if this gets stifled and they have 1 card left in hand, I feel like I'm okay to not play around days. I know I was talking about it, but... I think I can get... we obviously don't know it's days for 100%. And I can be... I can be hit pretty hard if I don't play the Knight, and they maybe like draw into Bolt for Noble or Wasteland us. Which wouldn't be the worst, because you get to Wasteland them back, but... Yeah, obviously a big play here for my opponent. Thinking about this Windswept Heath. So this sideboard's going to be interesting. We do have Part to Exile, which is good. That's probably the main card. There's nothing else that I really want, other than maybe on the play, I could see Gideon or Tyler's Tracker coming in. Tracker's just a little bit tough because of the 2 power. You really got to make sure you can play around Bolt and get it up to an X4 before it gets hit. But I think in this sort of matchup, Knight's just so much better as a 3-drop. But in general, I think that the Blue-Red Delver matchup is pretty interesting. We can't defend the skies too much, so a fast start with a Delver or Sprite Dragon can be really good. Go for Plains. Wow, okay, so they just don't have an answer to the Knight, which is really interesting. So Blue-Red Delver. Obviously, one of the first ones to take out is Collector Oof. It's not really going to be... a good card in this matchup. The other one is interesting. I really like my Mana Dorks because it allows us to get ahead on mana, which might sound stupid, but the ability to turn off things like soft permission like Daze is really good, and obviously Birds and Nobles can really help that. Thalia is still great even on the draw. Swords is great, Once is great. I could see Sylvan Library being taken out because their deck is pretty aggressive, so if we do land a Sylvan Library, I probably can't be too aggressive with it myself. Ah, they did play a Trop. Yeah, sorry. So they would be on a Rug, but they're playing Sprite Dragon as well, which is interesting. So they might be like just a more aggressive Rug build. I don't mind this. I don't think I want anything else. I still don't mind one Sylvan Library because if I'm bringing in extra removal, I believe that gives us 12 pieces of interaction with their threats, which is pretty nice. So we do have ways to slow them down, draw into Sylvan Library, and be, you know, at least draw one card off it. So I do like that. So I'm going to send this back, and if we see anything that we think needs answering in Game 2, we can maybe board differently in Game 3 if there is a Game 3. Hey Jack, hope you're well. This hand's pretty good. I'll keep this. I do like the two pieces of turn 1 acceleration. Off a snow-covered forest means we can't get wastelanded, and then we have a Path to Exile to follow it up, which is nice. Astrolabe, interesting. Jack, do you know what this deck is? If you just came, it looks like a blue-red deck. It's obviously playing Trop and Astrolabe. It's playing Sprite Dragon. It looks like maybe it's like a 4-color Delver deck? I'm not too sure. I'm not sure what the Astrolabes are for. Yeah, so we've seen a Trop, which gives them some amount of green, and then seeing the Astrolabe makes me think there's an extra color in there for something. This is Pokepile? Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Oh, EE for 1. That's interesting. I could see the slamming Oko, but into Days it's pretty rough, but the other play is just... Yeah, at least we know we can play around it, so the birds is not a play here. I think it's just Trop into Oko. What do they do with the Ponder? They chose to shuffle with the Ponder, which is interesting. They didn't have a Bolt either, but maybe they didn't Bolt the Hierarch because they had the EE. But I assume you'd then keep the EE for something else, because Bolt answering the Noble is pretty good. Engined Explosives can help you answer things like another Reliquary or maybe a big Scavenging Ooze later on. I think I am happy with going with Oko. I would hate for my opponent to untap, blow up the Noble, and then wasteland me. That'd be pretty rough. And if this Oko resolves, then I'd be pretty happy. Obviously. They're going to force it pitching Days. Interesting. What does that tell us? So they don't want a Daze because they want to have maybe 3 mana next turn. So perhaps they have an Oko themselves that they want to play next turn. Or they want to Wasteland us and play a 2 mana spell like Dreadhorde Arcanist. There's the Wasteland. This is fine. I mean, if we could draw a Wasteland ourselves, I'd be pretty happy. Ramanap's actually pretty interesting. I think it's Dried Arbor and Birds, because then next turn we can play Ramanap around Days and maybe get back to Trop. I don't really want to show the Canopy just yet. So, although this doesn't play around Days, I think that's okay. We have multiple pieces of mana, so if it gets Days, I'd be pretty happy. They only play 2 days, usually? Okay. Well, that's pretty good, knowing that one's already gone. Blazing Volley. That's pretty good. Dreadhold's fine. What, they have 2 cards left? I'm probably okay just to path here instead of oncing. Once is definitely better from a mana consideration. Path also plays around Force Negation, which I assume they actually would have taken out, so let's just go with once. Knight's pretty good. Especially if I can find a land, but to be fair, I'm not playing the Knight next turn anyway because of the Dreadhorde. I am definitely pathing. So I think taking a land here is fine, so then I can go Ramanap into something. The Cradle obviously doesn't do anything here, so... we know they're playing Stifle, so I might just go for the Savannah here. That's pretty good. Obviously a little bit worse in this version where they're playing basics compared to something like traditional Rug Delver, but much better than having the Arcanist on the field. Clots is going to be pretty good. I don't think I actually have an answer for that outside of Skyclave Apparition. Ooh, Oko's pretty nice, but do they have Stifle? Hey Timmy C, welcome. Hope you're well. Nice. I guess Oko is actually a pretty great way to deal with Clots, but there's also the life gain from that part. Yeah, I guess, you know, cards like Council's Judgment aren't seeing as much play as a few years ago. No one's really boarding hard with cards like Celestial Purge. I think Skyclave is probably the best answer that's everywhere. This is game 2. We got up game 1, which is nice. Oh, Wasteland's actually pretty nice. Teacup first. They're gonna stifle that. That's more than fine. Play Wasteland. Wasteland Trop. Play Ramanap. Pass. Bolt's okay. See what the Ponder does. Chose not to shuffle. Just don't get bowled out for 36. Haha! I like that, Jack. Oh, Green Suns. That's actually pretty interesting. They have 1 card left. It's probably just Green Suns for Scoos, because we can get an extra creature off the food. So play the Cradle. Green Suns for 2. Now the question is, do I want to make this a 4/4 now? And I probably don't mind that. Oh, we can trade the food? That's interesting. That's actually really interesting. I can take their Dreadhorde, which is kind of nice. It kind of makes the Clots have to eat Path if they want to cast another creature. They also don't have Stifle up, which is kind of nice. It does open the Oko up to Bolt. So the question is Scooz good enough to hold off the Dreadhorde? And I think it is. I think maybe the better play is making this a 4/4 and holding up a green source. Hey, Toolbox Hero, a huge thank you for the sub. I hope you're well. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy? This is, yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, the Ooze does shut down the Clots, but I can shut down the Dreadhorde for a turn instead. So if I make the food a creature, I then have 2 mana, 3 mana. I can use 2 of it to make the Ooze a 4/4 and then pass with 1 green up. But I guess the downside of doing the Oko play is that Oko then can die to Bolt, but I think that's okay. I've never actually... I don't think I've played with a Dreadhorde yet on stream, so this is a first for me as well. This also does the same thing, so I'm just going to eat 2 creatures now. Just to make it a 4/4. And Dryad. Path to Exile. I guess we take 1, but that's better than the extra 3. So the big question is, do they have Bolt? Sprite Dragon. Okay, that's pretty good. Oh, but they don't have another creature? Or another spell? I guess we'll see. I think the best play next turn is just making the Dreadhorde a 3/3. You're from Texas? Very cool. They're gonna kill that. Interesting. Does make the Ooze bigger, which is nice. Skyclave. Ooh, Path is actually pretty good. I'm just gonna Path now. Do I want to draw a card first? Let's draw a card first. There's Apparition. Okay. They have 0 cards in hand. I think holding the Apparition for now is fine. I might as well Path in their upkeep, seeing they have no cards, so that if they do have another basic, it comes in tapped. So let's go with... Eat Dreadhorde. And then hold up Cradle for Clots and Tundra Path for Sprite. Yeah, Sprite's an interesting one, because this deck does seem a little bit slower than the usual blue-red decks that play it. Alright, so upkeep, just to play around any sort of counter magic. Path this. Screw's really nice here. I've seen some lists with double Screws, which I definitely don't mind. Yeah, that's just a tough one to get out of. Pretty fortunate that that first game was a little bit scary. So we mulled a 6, but we had a pretty nice hand with mana, and our opponent Force of Willed the Birds of Paradise turn 1, and then Force of Willed or Force Negation the backup Green Suns to Dryad Arbor. But any thoughts on this card? Let me quickly see if it's uploaded in here. No cards found. Is this the elf? Ah, this is the, yeah, this is an interesting one. So this is kind of like Phoenicia Steed. The one thing that I don't like is that Maverick is usually a deck that has a bunch of 1-mana dorks or 2-mana creatures, so it can come back to bite you, but it is pretty interesting, and maybe there is a list where it helps. I think it's pretty cool in something like Knitfit, where you can get rid of your own veteran explorers and then obviously go tracking for some extra damage. Extra mana, sorry. But yeah, interesting card. Especially as a legendary creature as well, you can Karakas it. And it's whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into the graveyard, so anything from like fetches to wastelanding their lands. That's pretty interesting. Do I always stream at this time? I usually stream a little bit earlier. So I had, on Sundays, yes. So it's currently 11:54 AM. I think I went live at 11:30, but I usually go live around 10:30. It's usually 10:30 to about 1-ish is how long it goes. It's a trap card. Up against PC. Sand is probably okay. It's got a lot of mana, which is nice. So anything we can draw into, we can probably cast, and it has some pretty good interaction. So could be a matchup where Collector Oof isn't what I want, but probably okay with it here. Chancellor, okay. Interesting. So this might be some sort of Reanimator deck. Sylvan Library. So I could throw a bird here into, or probably Noble Hierarch into a Chancellor effect, which means I could untap, and if I draw into a second land, I can cast 2 spells. I can't hold up the Sword Tier anyway, so I don't mind just playing out a Noble Hierarch to take out the Chancellor. Opponent's having a hard time these days responding to Windswept Heats. Our last opponent took probably, I'm going to say 3 minutes to respond to a crack. Alright, let's go for Savannah. Play a bird. There is reason to play the Noble because the bird can at least block things, but because I'm not playing Mum, I think it's a little bit less of an issue. Ooh, that's really good for us. Maybe a little bit cautious with holding up swords there, but I do really like it. So here we get to go Sylvan Library and Noble Hierarch. Opponent up to 8 cards. Surely they're not looking just to naturally discard. I assume within the first 3 turns they've found a way to do it. And seeing they're playing a land here, yeah, okay. This is fine. They're going to go down to 3. That's okay. See if they're playing the child build or not. Unmask. Targeting us. A little bit sucky because if they have another way to get Grizzlebrand into play, they have an extra 7 life to play around with. Oh wow, just a pass back. Green Suns for Scoos is what I would love to see. Uro is interesting. Put on top. I guess I don't have a good way to shuffle, so I might as well pay here. Yeah, maybe I should have gone to 10. Maybe that's just correct. Draw first. And then let's play this, because it does turn off Lotus Petal, which is relevant. Wow. They're just going to go to discard. Grizzle. Alright. I guess we can... I'm gonna pay for everything. I could get back Uro this turn. I think it's okay just to attack for 3 here, because it puts him to 7, which turns off any sort of reanimate. And then I can get back Uro, which gives us lethal next turn anyway. Blue, blue. Green, green. Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could draw into Caracas as well, that'd be kind of cool. Skyclave. I'm assuming they play more than one swamp, but seeing that we have so many wastelands, I might as well... Okay, they've just... I guess that's a get 'em. Interesting. They must have had 6 on perhaps, and they just didn't think we could hit their Bloodstain Mire. Exhume is going to be okay. Oko is pretty good. Thalia as well, which is nice. Oko and Grizzle, we attack. We get to draw anyway and gain 3. And we have Exalted, which is 7 anyway. I guess they can block. Put this on top. Okay. I wish... Oh, we can Elk. So we can actually... the winning line there is Oko this, make it a 3-3 Elk. And then I believe we can Skyclave it. And then we can attack for 7 with Exalted, which is nice. This is going to be an interesting one. So I do like Surgicals. I do like Tormod's Crypt. I think Skyclave is a little bit niche in this matchup. There's some thought to taking out the second library as well. Deafening Silence I really like on the play. The extra paths I do like. Ramanap can come out. Questing Beast is probably a little bit meh. I think if it's getting to that stage, we're probably in a winning position anyway. Uro's nice to dig. Knight of Autumn's nice against Animate Dead. Hextrigger's fine, it's just a early aggressive creature. So that's 60. I don't think I want Meddling Mage. I think I'm happy to see how this plays out in game 2. Obviously, in this case, Leylines are much better than something like Tormod's Crypt because you have to actually untap and be able to play this. If our opponent has just a turn 1 win, then we can't do much outside of Surgical. This is actually an okay hand. Turn 1 play and Tormod's Crypt, which is nice. I'm gonna keep. We could also try to once for Caracas, or really any other land is pretty good for us. Oh, we are gonna get to actually play this Tormod's Crypt, which is pretty huge. Let's go once first. Wasteland's pretty interesting here. I think it is just Wasteland, and then we go Savannah, cast this. And then I actually have the option of Green Suns for Dried Arbor, which I don't mind. It does take it out of the deck, and then we have Green Suns back up for Scavenging Ooze. Sometimes I don't like wasting Green Suns on Dried Arbor if I have Noble Hierarch, but I think in this case where I just want to make sure I'm drawing pretty live off the top, I don't mind just going for Dried Arbor here. Iron is going to be fine. So obviously they go for one of their worst pieces of interaction. They have a land. Hex. I think here Thalia is probably just the better play. So Wasteland, Thalia, and Noble instead of Knight. But it is pretty interesting. I think what I want to aim for is Scoo's next turn with the mana up of the Green Suns. And I don't believe I can do that if I have to draw into a land if I want to do that off the Thalia Noble Hierarch play. If I go with Knight of the Reliquary here, it's obviously pretty good, but it doesn't play around. I guess I need the one turn. It gets me out of Caracas, but not much else. I think seeing my opponents on 4 cards, I don't mind just going for Thalia into Noble. That's actually really amazing that this resolved without another Entomb. It's pretty good for us. Looting, okay. Chancellor and Elishnorn. Oof. Well, Surgical's a huge draw, so we do have to keep a mana open here. So let's go with Knight and hold up Wasteland for Surgical. So go for Reanimate. We can go for Surgical and Elish. We'll pay the life. We'll pay the 1. Magus. Yeah, that is going to concede to that, unfortunately. It was a pretty nice board state from us. But interesting that they were on the Children of Corliss deck, which I assume right now is just the best version of Reanimator if you're going to play it. Because of course you get to sacrifice this for as many times as you want, getting it back with cards like Exhume, and just using Grizzlebrain a bunch, and then going for a Tendrils win. Pretty sweet. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in a second. Nice way to start the league, for sure. Haha, Tom with 44 trophies. Pretty amazing. It's a lot of trophies. It's a lot of chests as well. I'm not sure what you get. 11 chests. Nuts. Crazy. So far we've played against Pokepile and BR Reanimator, which is pretty interesting. I haven't seen BR in a long time. It's only been 2 matches, but the list has been feeling pretty good. V for victory. I'll keep this. Tomon Noble turn 2 knight. It's going for a Savannah. Tree of Tails. Interesting. Can we find Collector Oof or Green Suns? That would be awesome. Not right now. So next time we get to play Questing Beast and double Wasteland our opponent, hopefully. They floated 1, not too sure why. Interesting. Arcbound Ravager, okay. That's not too bad. They do get to sack. Oh, that's actually a great draw. I think here it's just going to be Skyclave and double Wasteland. So let's go for a Tundra. I could also go for a Savannah and not show we're on blue, which does mean they don't know that we have Oko. So I don't mind that. They're gonna sack the tree, that's interesting. Well, now I get to attack for 4. I guess okay, attack for 6, which is nice. And then play Questing Beast next turn as well. Ballista's probably the big card that I'm scared of. Hangerback Walker. That's gonna be fine. It's a 7/7? Okay. Noble. Cradle is a free Questing Beast, which is kind of nice. But Misty means we can get through the hanger back. And then try to get there with 2 swings of the Questing Beast. Because we would take 7, take 7. That's actually a really tough one. Hey Devon, hope you're well. Thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play Legacy? So I think here it's a case of just wanting to attack with the Knight of the Misty, which makes it an 8/8. They then make 7 guys, swing for 7, we go to 10. We then play the Beast, put them down to 6, and then they swing for another 7, we go to 3, and then we swing back for lethal if they don't have a blocker. I feel like that's the best move. They probably don't even attack with all 7. They are going to block. I'm just going to go for Dried Arbor. Maverick is pretty fun. You are 100% correct there. It's a pretty sweet deck. It has a little bit of game against everything. It probably isn't as good as it could be positioned, but... Oh wow, so it gets the 7 counters, and also they get the 7... Far out. So you get to trigger them in a way that you get to get 7 and then sack this. That's crazy. Ah, then you can put them all on that? Wow, okay. I didn't know this. Yeah, that's pretty good. Nuts. There's probably a world where I actually screwed up taking the, this, Arcbound Ravager when I should have taken the Ozolith. I just didn't realize how good it was. Uro is interesting. I guess Uro is kind of free here. Hey Donut, welcome. So close. I guess we get a draw out of this. Legacy is looking pretty good. We got up against Pokepile, we got up against BR Reanimator, and now we're down a game against this artifact deck, which looks really good. I think Thalia can come out. Let's have a quick look. Screws is maybe not relevant. I guess the incremental life gain is pretty good, and just having a bigger creature than normal. There's some consideration for mages, because I assume they're playing Walking Blister, and if I can hit something they haven't played yet, I'll be pretty happy, because their deck seems like a bunch of 4-ofs, like Hangerbacks, Arcbounds, Hardened Scales. It might just be one Sylvan Library. Just again, because they're quite an aggressive deck. It's a pretty reactive hand, and I do have to look out for Chalice from this deck. I guess they have a bunch of 1-ofs, so maybe they're not playing Chalice, but sometimes these decks play a bunch of 2-drops and then just Chalices, so I do want a hand that does more And this is probably it. I'll keep this and just bottom a land. I haven't tried a court, but I'm not a big fan of the court without having some way to clear the board. So like a Plague Engineer or a Fiery Justice. Just because of the way that Legacy is right now, I think it's pretty easy for this deck to lose the Monarch, especially in the air. So I don't want to get blown out by that. But I think it's definitely worth trying out in some sort of shell. Interesting. This is fine. I probably don't mind just drawing here, because if I draw into Dried Arbor or Noble Hierarch, I'm probably happy just pitching that to the Force. But it's a tough one, because if I Force last turn and drew into Noble, I could cast it here. But I think this is fine. I'm going to allow them to play a Soul Land if they have it. Hang it back. Yeah, I think here we're going to take out the Hardened Scales and the Walking Ballista, pitching. It's a tough one. I think it's just the Noble Hierarch. And hope we draw into a land. But yeah, just sequencing before. I think I should have thought more about drawing into a 1 mana. A mana dork, and being able to force untap play it, so we could definitely have 3 mana next turn, because this could definitely happen, and it just did. So definitely a snowball effect here. Ancient Stirrings of Spirit Guide, that's interesting. Scrapyard Recombiner, okay. Perfect. Let's go for Tundra and Savannah. And then I think it's this that we take care of, and then this later on. Pendelhaven's pretty funny. Means they can attack if they want, but they don't. Okay. I think it's just going to be Oko tick up. I could also make this a 3/3, which is interesting, because then they don't get this back if they deal with the Skyclave. And I think I'm okay with that. They could have something like Dismember, but it's probably okay. Yeah, okay. I guess that's pretty bad, because now they get to kill the Oko. What member? Dismember. Playing a Spirit Guide, okay. Really want that extra land to be able to cast Knight next turn and also Path or Swords. I don't mind Green Suns for a Noble Hierarch, so that next time we can definitely cast Knight and also have Path or Swords up. And to be fair, if I'm not going to block, I might as well... attack with the Skyclave. I don't want to get too low, because then Walking Ballista can finish this off. Hey Rick. Oof is pretty good, but I think here I just need to get this Knight down as a bigger creature. So here I'm going to get rid of the Scrapyard in response to this module. I didn't know that they could sack itself. That's definitely a reason to get rid of it ASAP. Yeah. Take 5. One, 2. Okay. Could Green Suns for Knight here. I could also Green Suns for Oof, but... I think Oof is probably correct. We also have... I think what I want to do here is actually Knight of Autumn on the animation module, and then I have a 2/2 blocker for the Elvish Spirit Guide. I can take 3, and then Green Suns next turn for Knight. The issue with Oof is that then they just attack with all their creatures, and I kind of have to block with the Oof. At least with the Knight of Autumn, I can maybe set up a position where I can get them off the board and then go for Oof or go for Knight for a way to win. Again, I should have attacked with the Skyclave. I guess there's a world where they have Dismember and then just Dismember the Knight and then attack for 5, so I don't mind keeping back 2. Ravage is pretty good. Ravage is really good. Because they can sack itself. I guess there's... Oh, okay, that makes it a lot easier. Sorry, I didn't read that part. I thought it was put it on anything. What playlist is this? This is Stream Beats on Spotify. Oh, Beast is interesting. Beast is really interesting. I think it's better to go for Beast here than Collector Oof. I could also go for Uro. Scavenging Ooze is also interesting, but I think Beast is just the best here. Screws gets us out of Bolt range, but they still have 4 mana and Arcbound Ravager to deal 3, so Screws doesn't do it. I could go for Uro, go up to 5, but then I have to chump block, kind of, with Skyclave. Maybe I don't. Uro is definitely interesting here. But yeah, I think I like Beast as well. I gotta try closing out this game as well, so. I'm not gonna attack with both in case they have Dismember. It's gonna fade 1 turn. And Green Sun's for Uro. Or I guess in this stage I can start going for Collector Oof, hopefully. I think Oof is probably safer. Although Uro kind of does the same thing by gaining me life. It takes me out of Walking Ballista range. Spirit Guide's okay. Nice. Interesting. So we have to double block here because they can Pendelhaven. So I think it's just Beast here, Skyclave here. They get a 3/3 back. Oh, they get a... Is this a... Oh, they get nothing back, I assume. I guess we'll see. Yeah, cool. Okay. That actually worked out pretty well. Another Hierarch. Doesn't really do a whole lot. Let's go for Uro. Is it Uro? Gain 3, go to 5. Oof is interesting, but I can't block with the Oof, so I might as well gain life off the Uro. I could also draw into a land to play this Noble Hierarch, which is nice. Meddling Mage. That's pretty good because I can name Walking Ballista. One turn. The sweats. There's sweats. Because they can play it pre-combat, attack with everything. If we block the Arcbound Ravager, they can sack the Ravager to the Ballista, make it a 3/3, deal 2 with the Elvish Spirit Guide, we go to 3, and then they finish us off with the Ballista. I've definitely made some poor choices this game, and I think that's just because I haven't played against this deck in a long time. Oh, Dismember on this. Okay, that's gonna be okay. We go down to 1. They go down to 2. They can't attack with both because we get exalted on the way back. Oh no. Oh no, opponent. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, opponent. Yeah. Nice. Do I want anything else? I don't think I do. I'm pretty happy just running back the same list. There's some thought for Gideon because it makes 2/2s over something like Sylvan Library because we can't be too aggressive with it, but I think the library's fine. I think that maybe trying to keep our curve low is good in this matchup so we can try to beat up. Yeah, it's been pretty fun. Best splash color? Yeah, Bant's definitely up there. I think Bant and Bug are probably my two favorite color things of all time. This is a tough one because of the mana. Gaddock doesn't stop Blister, unfortunately, because it's non-creature spells. So things like Engineered Explosives or Chalice to the Void. I think this hand sadly just loses to itself with the mana, so I'm going to mulligan this one. This is a great hand. I'll keep this, and I'll bottom the Trop, because I can double fetch. Card Teeg. There you go. I put it down to 6 as well. Whew. Tree of Tales. That's pretty good for us because it is a card that gets turned off by Collector Oof. Not a great draw. Alright, let's go for Savannah into Noble. Scrapyard's fine. This is an interesting one. I could go for Green Suns here for Collector Oof, but it doesn't really... Oof is interesting. I think it might just be Oof to try to slow down my opponent for at least a turn. Takes him off the land as well, which is nice. I haven't played Historic yet. I've played Historic Mono Blue, but I haven't played like a Maverick deck, which would be interesting to see, seeing it does have a lot of Maverick-esque cards in the format. Yeah, Oof is a nice speed bump here, but it's not going to win me the game. They can still cast, you know, 3/3 or bigger creatures and beat down, so Skyclave and Knight are going to be really good here. Ancient Stirrings of Spirit Guide is pretty nice for us because they can't find Dismember off Ancient Stirrings. They find Arcbound Ravager. That's going to be fine. Oh, Path. Huh. So that would be a 4/4. We're definitely playing this. I don't mind Skyclave on Hardened scales. I don't really care about anything else. Yeah, I like Skyclave as well, because we have the Swords and Path for everything else as well. I also get a free attack here with the Oof. And then next turn we have 4 mana to play with, which is nice. We can play Knight and also hold up Swords or Path. Another Ravage is okay. I think we just take this, go to 10. Another Ancient Tomb. Alright, land for us. We can attack for 3 at least. They're gonna block, that's fine. They're gonna target that. I think here I'm happy just to probably do nothing. I could clean up the board and then just play Knight on a clean board. But the question is, do I really care about it? I think I'm actually okay. Because the Knight's going to be bigger anyway. I'll tap like this, holding up the Dryad as a blocker if I want it, and also the Windswept Heath. This is fine. I'm gonna block here. For 4 damage we can fetch. I didn't leave up double white, which is actually a really bad play from me. Now we get to path this and then have lethal on the crackback. We get no tokens. They don't have any mana. Yeah, nice. Haha. That was one I was a little bit afraid of losing. But we get there. 3-0 is always nice as well because it takes the pressure off a little bit. But big mistake there not holding up the double white, because if they have something like Dismember for the oof, they can start doing some pretty unreal things, and you probably want to have access to both swords and path. Yeah, Doomsday is definitely a tough matchup for Maverick. I think the only time that I've won Doomsday is being very lucky and my opponent being not lucky at all. Yeah, Modern, there's some older decks that are close to it. So there was the Value Town deck that just played like Knight of Reliquaries, Raminaps, Azusa. So you could play multiple lands a turn. But it was pretty fair. I think I played Collective Company as well. And then you have things like Green White Hate Bears, which is pretty close, but a lot of people are just playing Death and Taxes right now. But there's no real thing. If you want to play Green White in deck, yeah, I guess Green White Reclaim is also pretty good. And then yeah, if you want to play Green White, I think the Heliod deck is pretty good because it has the combo finish. Yeah, Heliod seems sweet. It's always nice to have a pretty fair deck with a nice combo finish out the back. Sonso. We haven't had Once Upon a Time in our opening hand yet. This hand's pretty good. I'll keep this. It's got a really nice curve. It's got all the mana we want. It's got removal. Ooh, once on their side. I mean, this is a pretty good hands of first depth, so can't be too unhappy about that. Could be Hogaak as well, which this hand isn't too bad against. We have the Caracas for Hogaak, which is nice. Ooh, okay. Maybe the Mirror. Maybe not. Basic Swamp. Surely that means Hogaak? What are they naming the blind? I don't think we've played before. Probably something like Force? Maybe Brainstorm? Brainstorm, yeah. Okay. Yeah, probably Thalia or Plow, but thankfully they don't know what we're on, which is good. Nice that we don't have any double ups in our hand either. I'm not too sure what this is. They haven't played Windswept Heath yet. Bloodghast, that's pretty good. Especially with Cabal Therapy. It could definitely still be Hogaak. The name's Skyclave Apparition, that's interesting. They still have a Windswept in hand, that's the only card we know about. I'm just gonna go for Savannah and hide the blue. There's Windswept. Interesting to have Windswept in the deck and a basic Swamp. Knight's pretty good. I guess Knight is better than anything else. Guess they can get 6 cards in their bin this turn if they have a fetch land. Two bridges? Okay, that's pretty good. I guess I could have kept a fetch in my hand to get Dried Arbor, to sack that to get rid of bridges. Wasteland's actually perfect, because now I can hold up Dried Arbor. And also hold up Sword to Plowshares. This could just be a Hogaak. No? Once is fine. Windswept's pretty good. So I will... So if I allow this, and then they sack the Bloodghast to alter, I can then go for bridges. But then they could sack this in response, trigger, get the Bloodghast back. Yeah, maybe I'll respond to them cracking. Yeah. So they will get 2 more zombies. Yeah, I wish there was a world where I could wasteland the wins up here and make them do it. Yeah, so now we get to go float a white, sack this. Dried Arbor. I guess I could wait, but I'm okay doing it now. Getting 2 bridges is pretty nice. Careful study Vengevine. They have 1 card left. Another bridge. Rough. Hogaak. Yeah, then I have 4 Bloodghasts. 3 at least. Might as well go after this. Can just sack it. I guess Skyclave off the top would be okay, or Oko, but otherwise we're pretty dead. I guess Green Suns is interesting. Thalia, my bad. Rough. Surgical is great. Path is fine. Tormod's Crypt is fine. Thalia can most likely come out. I'll take out 1 Sylvan. Night of Autumn's fine. Ramap's actually pretty good with Dried Arbor as well. Yeah, I think even if we oofed, we had a block for the. I think they just went too hard, too fast on the go wide strategy, which is definitely a great way to beat Maverick. We don't have a great way to deal with go wide strategies. Yeah, exactly. What do I want to drop? I don't mind Uro, because actually Uro is pretty interesting because it gets rid of bridge triggers. Or bridges, at least, which is nice. It might just be a once. I think this is fine. Take out some of the fluff to have these 6. This is pretty good. I'll keep it. It's a 1-lander, but we have the double once. Could also go for Noble here, which is interesting. Noble allows us to go for a turn 2 Oko or Skyclave, which I really like. I think that's better than the land. Alright, what do you mill? Alter land. It's pretty good for us. There it is. I don't mind hitting the stitches here. Careful Study is going to be okay. I'm going to assume at least 1 Bloodghast. Into a fetch. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, Hogaak, 2, 4, 6. Okay, that's fine. Hey, Tasty Goats, a huge thank you for the sub. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Cabal Therapy. Yep. Yeah, I think Green White's in a really strong position, especially with Skyclave Apparition. Interesting. They go into combat, so they're giving me the opportunity to trade the Tormod's Crypt with pretty much the Hogaak. Because I don't really want them Cabal Therapying with Bloodghast here. That's really interesting. I think because I don't have the second white for Skyclave, I do think Tormod's Crypt here is pretty good. Because I'm pretty much saying Path to Exile is better than Tormod's Crypt here. And with Hogaak in play, I think that's definitely the case. Because ticking this up, ticking Oko up on this is just going to make me lose the Oko, so... Hey Gav, hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Misty's pretty good. I guess we see what we find with the once first. Probably just want to go for the knight here. Play this. Create a food. I could also fetch for Dried Arbor and make a 3-3, but I think I want to keep the Dried Arbor in the deck for knight shenanigans. And I might as well use the fetch here to path the Hogaak to get in for 1 with the Hierarch, because I'm not blocking with it. From Houston, Texas. Oh, nice. That's a pretty good suite of cards there. Turbo Goblin seems pretty fun to play. Paradigm Shift, Thassa's Oracle, Merfolk. I like that. I like how Merfolk's kind of move towards the combo finish. Very cool to see. Misty Gravecrawler. Okay. Stitches. Please no Cabal. Ah, with a bridge as well. I'm thinking of a field day. This is definitely a matchup where I do like Leyline over Torments and Surgical, but you can't have both. Oh, and an altar? Rough. There's a Hogaak as well. And another bridge and a Vengevine. Yeah, I don't see us getting out of this, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess now they get to kill the Oko. Big yikes. But you can definitely see here the go wide strategies, how good they are against Maverick. Because even if I have like a path with swords, a lot of the time our opponent's going to have multiple creatures in play. And even if we have like a 5/5 or big knight next turn, they have so many creatures out that we just can't really do anything, so. I do like the black version against Hogaak a lot better. I think you have a lot more outs. You have cards like main deck Kaya, which is great. You get to exile things like Stitches Supplier or Grave Shenanigans, hitting things like Bridges, which is cool. And then Plague's not too bad. If you hit double Plague, you can name Zombie and stop them from going off with Altar, which is pretty cool. But I have like the draws so far with this deck. It's been pretty consistent, which is really nice. This is an interesting one because the Dried Up is obviously not the greatest, and if we get this Noble Hierarch Swords or Bolted, then we're just stuck with a bunch of 3-drops, which isn't the worst on the draw, but... What did I take out to bring in Once Upon a Time? I took out 1 Mana Dork to go down to 5, I took down a Fetch Land to go down to 7 Fetch Lands, and I took out a Knight just to lower the curve a little bit. And I feel like, for most part, when Knight's good, we usually have a pretty good matchup anyway, so I'm not too... I don't miss the fourth one too much, which is always nice. You could take out a Green Suns, but I really like in this version with so many 3-drops, having the extra ability to Green Suns on turn 1. I'm going to mulligan this. Yikes. These 3 just kept pretty much a similar hand without the Noble Hierarch this time. So I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put him a Knight. And hopefully these 2 cards are relevant in this matchup. Blue to Delta. Basic, snow-covered, Ponder, okay. Let's see what the Ponder does. Chose to shuffle, interesting. Once is pretty good if I can find a Noble Hierarch. Okay. I guess I get the snow-covered forest and then just play Misty and act like we're on snow as well. Or some sort of snow deck. Skyclave's also interesting, but I really want to just make sure I have my 3rd mana in hand. This could be like blue-red, like Sprite Dragon, Dreadhorde, okay. I'm not going to Swords here because I don't have a great turn 2 play anyway. I'm going to play around Force Negation though. I'm going to play around Force Negation more than Spell Pierce, and hopefully that's okay. Let's have the Force of Will. Okay. Chose to not shuffle. That's always scary. Yeah, some sort of snow punishment would be nice. I'm not sure if they bring in like cumulative upkeep. That's probably too much, but yeah, some way to punish snow would be nice. I'm just not sure how they could do it to be fair without being too unfair. I think we still have a basic. Yeah, 2 forests, cool. Wow, no land? Okay. I don't mind just trying to slam Knight here, because it means if they don't have a bolt... I guess they haven't had a bolt target yet, but... It's fine. I'm not going to play around days. I'm just going to try to slam threats and make them answer them. Dragon's really good. Hey Ganny, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Choke for Snowlands would be amazing. I'll give you that. No great play here. Probably just Thalia and Oof. Gives me the ability to double block. But yeah, my opponent can just force everything they draw into. Hey Jono, hope you're well. We're currently in game 1 against Blue-Red Delver. And it's looking pretty tough. Opponent has been pretty stuck on land, but they've been more than capable of dealing with us with just their 2 mana. I could block here, but this is going to be tough. There's some reason just to return it here, which I don't mind. I'm going to see what we draw first. Put this into play. And then return it. We'll block. Oh, the Dreadhoard's fine. Take out this. Fetch. Play Uro. Draw a card. Nice. Maybe this Uro can get us back in the game. No attacks. Wow, okay, that's a huge change. Scoos is actually pretty nice as well. Blue, blue. Take out once. Swords. Because we have the Scoos, I'll take out lands instead of creatures. Wow. I'm going to play Hex Drinker here. And then see if I can tick it up. I don't think I need to tick up the Karakas here. Oh, hold up the Karakas. I think I'm happy just trying to tick up this Hex Drinker. But yeah, Uro looking really nice here. Wow, I did not see us winning that game, especially once... Like, Uro just carried us that game. That was crazy. I did not see that happening. Especially seeing our first removal spell getting removed on the Dreadhorde, the Force on the Knight, the Force on the Thalia, and then Uro just coming back. Like, that's pretty crazy. The only cards that I really like here are Path. I don't think I really need anything else. Oof can go, and probably a Sylvan Library. I think that's probably a pretty nice change up. There is some thought to Tireless Tracker, but that's always interesting. I like that Knight tends to be bigger than a Bolt, which is good, and that's where Tracker just is a little bit behind. Meddling Mage is interesting as well, but I don't think there's really cards that shut them down too much. Life gain creatures are great. I think I'm just going to run this back and see how this performs. A double like Sword or Path hand would be great, especially with the turn 1 Noble. It's pretty close to it, but it is only a 1-lander. I'm never a fan of 1-landers. If the Green Suns was a Once Upon a Time, I would think about this hand a little bit more, but I think this hand just loses to itself, especially against a Wasteland deck. I'll keep this, I'll bottom the Cradle, because it has the Once as well. And I'm just going to Once now as well, just to play around Daze or anything else. I'm going to take the Canopy. Delver's okay. I'm just gonna play into, yeah, just gonna play a little bit around Wasteland. This does mean I can't 2-spell next turn. I can't go Path and Thalia, but I think that's okay. They're gonna Ponder. They chose not to shuffle. Okay. Pretty perfect draw, because now I get to play around Wasteland in these early turns. I want to get this one. Sprite's okay. Delve is fine. I think he was just taking out the Delver. Hey, thanks for having it. Thanks, Magrippa. Brainstorm's gonna be okay. Hey, MC Agrippa, thanks for the follow. So, sorry, thanks for the Prime sub. A huge thank you. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. Interesting that they have no spell here for the Sprite Dragon. Probably just have like an Arcanist. Okay. This is a really tough one because the 2 flyers that are so good here. You're from Toronto? Very cool. Miracle, Snowcode, D&T, and Monogreen Enchantress. Enchantress is a very cool deck. I think it's just been a little bit too fast for us. They definitely get a counter on the Sprite Dragon next turn because of the Dreadhorde, so it's going to be 3 and 3 anyway. I guess that means that the Sprite Dragon is just going to be bigger if they have another spell as well. So I might as well deal with the Sprite here. And then there's no great attacks. I don't want to use... I don't want to go down to 4 either. They have the chain as well, so we just lose, right? Yeah. I'm just going to send this back. And just hope they have a slower start. Yikes. Dried upper hands. Yeah! Keep... Probably bottom the Sylvan Library, but I like that Sylvan Library can just dig at least. It might even just be Knight here. And just keep the hand pretty low to the ground. I get to go Snow-Covered Pass and just hold up the once. Just to get that extra draw step before I use it. I do want to get the library down, but getting a Thalia on board is always pretty nice as well. It might just be Thalia because I have a second one and I can also just cast these next turn anyway. No flips, pretty good for us. Another Delver's fine. I'm going to attack because I have the land. If I could trade one of these Delvers off for a Dried Arbor, I'd be more than happy to. Wow, no flips. They might fetch here. They should fetch if they don't want the card on top. Yeah. It does flip. Preordain. That's okay. Wasteland. That's pretty good. I could make them use this Wasteland, but I don't really want to put them in that position where they can. Yeah, new Misty Art's pretty cool. I like it as well. Bolt's okay. Preordain most likely setting up the Delver. Two cards on top. Well, I'm pretty happy just to go for it here. Just use my mana efficiently. Means if I can draw into a land here, I can cast both of these. Or just Oko, that's pretty sweet. No pressure on the board either. And even if they Wasteland us, we still have two really good spells to cast next turn. Yeah, Uro is an interesting one. Uro is, of course, a very powerful card, but I haven't really been aggressively searching for it with something like Green Suns. But in this game one, it literally won us the game. I don't think I could have ever come back from a board state like that before. So Uro's really good. Oko's obviously pretty powerful and gives us a kind of different angle of attack than just normal creatures. And obviously, being a deck with mana accelerants, it's really nice to be able to cast Oko on turn 2, even when you're on the draw, which is pretty powerful, especially when your opponent is probably casting them after you. You already have a setup of maybe a food or a 3/3, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Bant's been sweet. The big thing that I don't like with Bant is that you don't have a great answer to go wide strategies. So Plague Engineer kind of helps. Cards like, I guess Punishing Fire used to, which isn't seeing too much play, but things like Fiery Justice is pretty good. Yeah, things like Hogaak when you don't have something like Leyline to really shut them down, it's pretty tough to try to deal with multiple cards or multiple threats. I do like as well in game 1 against, say, Blue Red Delver in this instance. It's pretty cool that you can play as a green-white shell and hopefully win to then go into game 2 and still have Oko in the deck and hope that your opponent didn't bring in Pyroblast because they didn't see blue, which is pretty cool. Cyclonic Rift? Yeah, I guess we should. Sprite Dragon. Okay. Ooh, swords. Nice. I kind of want to go with Library here. I think Library's the biggest payoff. Even if I can't draw cards with it, just being able to scry. I guess Bolt 3 for 5. No, Bolt itself doesn't kill Loco, which is nice. But it's close to this Sprite Dragon just dealing with whatever we get. Preordain's okay. Two cards on top. Okay. And there's Bolt. Dreadhorde. Okay. Can I pay? They have 2 cards left. This is actually an interesting one because I have to attack for 3. I guess unless I want the Bolt to go at the food. Definitely giving the Sprite Dragon. That's what I'm really scared of right now. Which is tough. I just think I have more outs to the Dreadhorde, especially in things like Scavenging Ooze. I mean, I kind of hope my opponent goes for Bolt here on the food, and then we can find an answer to it, but they're going to Preordain. Okay. Sorry. It's always tough, especially with so many Bolts in the deck. It's really attacking for 4 every turn from now on. Oh, Beast is actually quite nice. Wasteland Hex Drinker. That's actually pretty interesting. So I don't think they have an answer for that. Oh, I didn't mean to pay 4 double. Oh, that's pretty rough. I did not mean for that to occur. They're gonna force that. Yeah, that's pretty rough. I did not mean to pay for the extra 7 here. Alright. They have 1 card left. I guess I get a free look with the Sylvan Library, which is nice. I just hope they didn't put down another threat. That's where I really would... Oh, no second threat. Okay. Yikes. So I could go up, but then lose. I think it's a case of just getting the fetch land and playing the Questing Beast. They kind of have force, which is nice. Dragon's pretty good. Is that just it? If they bolt us, then we take 3 in the air anyway? Yeah. Or just, yeah, ponder again. They have the bolt, so I don't know why they're pondering. rough. Bolt target us. Yeah, good games. Rough. Yeah, maybe just maybe some extra removal on the board is needed. I do have the Skyclaves, but if I don't have the acceleration out against some of those decks that do target your nobles and birds pretty early, then relying on Skyclave can be pretty slow. So maybe an extra path or something is needed. But I think, yeah, taking that extra 4 on the Questing Beast definitely hurt us. That was a pretty big misplay, but a 3-3 isn't too bad. We do finish with something at least. Which I assume is a chest. But what is my favorite version? I really like BANT. I think BANT is really fun. Abzan's probably the strongest right now. 4-color, you can get hit pretty hard by having that mana base that isn't too consistent. But I could see something like a Bayou in this deck, and then a Leovold, which would be pretty sweet. I think Leo over maybe Tiles Tracker would be pretty good. I think with Maverick, it's all about consistency first, making sure your mana's going to be stable, and then making sure that you have some answers for most matchups. But in that case, it was just trying to dig for our swords and paths, and just couldn't really find them, because it can be pretty tough. We only have, we're probably only going to see at max 3 pieces of removal against Delver, so making sure you have answers for their 4 Delvers, 4 Arcanists, 4 Sprite Dragons is going to be pretty hard, so that's pretty tough. Yeah, it's pretty sweet, especially in the green-white version. I think the green-white has gotten a big boost from Skyclave, being able to run more main deck removal. That's the one place that I didn't like green-white, was just their removal suite in game 1, only having kind of the 4 swords. Sometimes Jide if you're playing a Stoneforge Mystic package, but I could see this list going towards Stoneforge Mystic as well, which is cool. I kind of want to drop the onces. I think the deck has enough consistency that you don't need the onces, and running 2 Stoneforge and 2 equipment, and probably dropping out 1 more creature. But I'm not sure where it would lie. It'd be in there somewhere. Yeah, Shifting Ceratops is really cool as well, especially out of the board. Just really good to deal with. But yeah, some of those more aggressive matchups, you really miss your Kaias, your Kaias and your Abrupt Decays. Abrupt Decay is the massive reason to play black, and it's obviously pretty well positioned now. Not being able to get countered is pretty huge, because Maverick doesn't have the luxury of pondering or brainstorming for removal, so you just have to try to draw it naturally. And when you do, you want it to stick, and that's what Abrupt Decay does. So, but otherwise, this list was pretty solid. Maybe there's a case for an extra path in the board over the Tiles Tracker, and just having the Gideon as our one piece of kind of extra oomph against control, because I do think there is a lot of Delver around right now, so having that extra path is really good. This deck also doesn't have a great answer to Mum once it's online, so having more turn 1 interaction is pretty good as well in that regard. Nice. That is me. If you want to find me on YouTube, you can find me at YouTube/Tukes on Twitch, which I'll put in the chat. You can find all my recordings there and streams. You can find me on Twitter here. You can find me at the Green Sun Zenith. I am working on some new content, which is cool, with a few people, which should be pretty fun. I'm going to quickly see who else is streaming. Hey Sorte, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what you play in Legacy. It looks like Arnzy's streaming actually, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to send you guys over to Arnzy's channel. But a huge thank you once again to the new subs as well. Very, very cool. If I don't see you guys before Christmas, all the best. I will be back in the new year, but I should be streaming on Thursday night anyway, so we'll see you then. I think it's /raid. Arnzy MTG. Nice. Thanks again. Enjoy your weekends. Stay safe. And I will see you hopefully next week. Cheers.